Looks like we are live. Welcome back, folks. We are playing The Great Ace Attorney 2. And really all I care about is finding Transylvanian Edgeworth, because, well, we played through the entire previous game. And frankly, I have wanted to come back to this one for a while. I just haven't gotten around to it. Also, it involves a lot of talking. So I have to be smart with how I approach it or I'll lose my voice. Anyway. I also don't remember the names of a lot of the characters in this or anything, so we'll see how that goes. It has been a while. Hey, it's that girl.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean. Those days in London seem like a dream.
The last
but I
game
do
had
miss my
voice
time in
acting?
England's vast
I
capital.
think it did.
You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home.
I find myself faced with another awful crime.
So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer.
So is this how they're doing the tutorial level? Where...
So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Is this how we're doing the tutorial level? We're playing as our legal aid, who is going to court in Japan before we go back to England. The Blossoming Attorney. 13th August, 8:26 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature. Defendant's Antechamber. Welcome to the stream, Lastborn. Here I am again after 9 months, the Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous, but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Ah, good, you're here. Doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Hi, Mikotoba. I vaguely remember you. Thanks for the hydrate, Lastborn. Oh, yes, and good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. You've got a fine figure, Counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those wide eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous I feel utterly nauseated. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. Eugene Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advances in forensic medical science. And, of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Oh, we're gonna meet the client. Hello there. Okay, for a second there I thought it was going to reveal that this was our opponent. But no, I think our opponent has a funky hat based on the silhouettes before. But I'd be correct in thinking that you're to be my lawyer in court today. Oh, yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life. It's a complete fabrication, this whole thing. Ray Membami, born the same year as I and my greatest friend. Unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory helping my father. Sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial, accused of committing a truly awful murder. I've been playing back through the Phoenix Wright games recently, which helped get me back in the mood for this one. I do love these games, to be honest. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little bit flustered. Real quick, do I have the court record yet? Well, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? When I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. Seems our little plan for this trial is going to work. Oh, what? What do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? If even your best friend can't see through the disguise, I think we can relax. So I'm disguised? I thought I was just wearing a lawyer outfit. Disguise? Yes, I've never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? What? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just, no, what are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, that varsity cape, that varsity badge. Okay, is she going to attack me? Also, come to think of it, didn't Susato, like, flip Ryunosuke by the collar through the air or something multiple times last game? It's starting to come back to me. I really don't remember the plot in that much detail. Look at you. You look for all the world like a student of the Imperial Yume University, a male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations have been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. Also, I'm gonna have to pay attention. Welcome to the stream, Rafkin. I need to pay attention to whether my webcam gets in the way here. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, it was the only way. The only way she would be permitted into the Supreme Court to take on your defense in this trial. My defense? Never before in my life have I felt so frustrated at having been born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot inside the courtroom. Despite the fact that the laws of our land apply to all people, male and female alike. Welcome to the stream, B. Now, it's kind of messed up. The only way you can go in is if you're the defendant or one of the witnesses, it seems. Because there was a female witness the last time we were in this court. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I can act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you'd go to such lengths for me? Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worry that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. I mean, I don't know why her dad isn't, like, volunteering, to be honest, because he does seem to have plenty of courtroom experience. Well, not exactly new to me, but yes, it's an Ace Attorney game. It's the second great Ace Attorney game. We played the first one, I want to say like a year ago or something. Ray. It's so strange, though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet just because you're a woman, what a wretched reason. Not wrong. Why shouldn't you be allowed in court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray? Please don't look at me like that with those flushed cheeks and dimples. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just... You really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Okay, when can I access the court record, though? And also, can I scan the room? Because I always like clicking on things. I'm managing to put on a brave face and all this, but I can see through it. She doesn't look that brave. She looks extremely worried. Noticed how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling ever so slightly. Look at her face. You don't need the subtle signs. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence. Which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side. Because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant, counsel. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside. I don't think I've ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you've certainly surprised your father. Going to such lengths to be admitted into the courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But Father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this? Yes, quite right. I've kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true, the reason why every other lawyer is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I'll do what I can to support my student. Hang on. I was trying to see if there was a way to adjust the text speed, because that's an option in the Phoenix Wright games. Thank you, Father. I like his little chest dangly thing. I wonder what it means. Like, it's bound to have some sort of meaning. I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law on a study trip to Great Britain. But 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. I forgot I changed their outfits so much. I gotta check the outfits on the main menu at some point, just to remind myself what they are. How many times have I wished that he were here, I wonder. Still, I have no choice now but to steel myself for the trial ahead. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. I don't think he can wish you luck. He does not know that you're doing this. 13th August, 9 a.m., Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 1. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Membami. Okay, hang on. There are so many save slots. Okay, we're gonna save the game real quick. And then... I want to remind myself what the outfits are. Okay. I'll admit, the goggles are a little bit weird. Though I like this one. It's honestly really cute. And this one I find strange, but I'm kind of tempted to put it on. Especially since I think there's an achievement for wearing all of the optional outfits. Sure. Yeah, so there are some of these achievements that I haven't gotten yet. Oh, I'm glad I read that one. Ah, there we go. Bespoke tailor for playing the game in all available outfits. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Wait a second. I have to do this real quick. Like, I actually think I have to. I need to know what her outfit is supposed to be if I'm not doing this. Sorry. I'll change her outfit after this case, but I've gotta know. Ah. Yeah, that is a lot more believable as a guy. Admittedly, I feel like she could have tucked her hair up better, considering there's a lot of room in that hat. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready? Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, Ryutaru Naruhodo. Is that correct? Sorry? Oh yes, I had to come up with a suitable male name for you in this little venture. So I'm afraid to say I simply put down the first name that sprung to mind. Well, counsel? Ah, yes, that's right, that's me. Yes, I'm Ryutaru, he who has vowed to uphold the pride of the great Naruhodo clan. Ah. It seems Ryutaru may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first and not overdo it. I love the darting eyes. Okay, I definitely need to move my profile picture. Hang on. Or my webcam. I think bottom left screen makes sense. But if that's the case... where is it? Ah, here we are. Trying to get the camera to look like I'm looking at the game when I'm looking at the game is always a weirdly tricky thing. Anyway, I love her darting eyes. I think Ryu had the same thing going on the first time he was in court. Those wild eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo? A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be? You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo, currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is, his cousin. That's right. Ryutaro here has been studying in provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of the law, his knowledge rivals that of any of Tokyo's preeminent lawyers. Any of them. Tut, 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 what a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused had to call in a country boy? How dare you? Susato is every bit as gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you make... Ray, you're not helping here. Please shut up. Her? Oh, please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wide, skittish eyes very much suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand why what Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, eyes are want to flit. Case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance to our national interests. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial may well affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago. And yet for proceedings of such importance, we have this unknown yokel by the dock? Dear me. Perhaps it would be an appropriate moment for me to assess the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you're standing now, the same judge tested him as well. He looked so panicked. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Right, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency, but please do make them simple. Very well, to start with, you will state the name of the victim. Whew, that is simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. Ah. The darting eyes, they just keep getting me. Mainly because I'm used to Susato being so confident and competent. What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruhodo-san goes through. Like it or not, minds are want to blink. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. You know, it occurs to me that during that opening cutscene, we were probably supposed to see this relatively masculine figure standing in front of that tombstone, that gravestone, rather than Susato in a dress. It was supposed to be kind of a surprise when it flipped around and showed her face. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. Don't fret, you need only use the knowledge you've gained as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record. I can't remember how to open the court record, by the way. I don't think it's given it to me yet, which might be why, but maybe I just haven't hit the right button. Yes, the answer will be amongst all the key information about the case in the court record. That's right, just use E to... Okay, I definitely tried that, I just didn't have the option. And you need to flip to the people section with E. And don't take too long over it, His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright, check the court record with E. That's where the information... Yeah, okay, it just gave me the option. Post-mortem report. Time of death, just after 2 p.m. Believed to be trauma to the victim's lung from a knife blade. Only a single wound was identified. Giselle Brett, female, British. Time of death, 11th August, 2 p.m. Ascertained by examination and witness statements. Cause of death, single deep stab wound from behind, piercing a lung and resulting in a fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes. No, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim in both eyes. Okay, well that's going to be relevant, but I haven't any idea how. Anyway, it's Jezile Brett, who I think was in the previous... Yeah, she was the perpetrator in the previous case. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting Professor Dr. John Wilson. That's what I thought. Eugene Mikotoba? Ray Mbami? Takatsuchi Ouchi. The prosecutor. Okay, so we're in the Meiji era. Is the name of the victim in this case? So, I want the achievement. The victim in this case is, yes, Prosecutor Takatsuchi Ouchi. What? Why the sudden triumphant cry of yes? Are you threatening to kill me? He seems angry. And you're surprised? Did you consult the court record? You must look through it carefully. I looked at everyone on file, and I chose the person whose features appeared to be most deadly. I must say, this is the most unusual methodology. This most unusual methodology of yours leaves me almost speechless. It occurs to me with renewed certainty that reading the information carefully is important. I strongly recommend it. Oh dear, I simply can't ignore that imploring look. Your Excellency, please allow me to amend my answer. Very well. I will excuse this incorrect response given your wide-eyed state of panic. Is the name of the victim? Clearly, it's Eugene Mikotoba. Hang on, I'm trying to remember who that is. Ah, it's Dad. Okay. The victim in this case is none other than Professor Eugene Mikotoba. What? Well, to be written off by one's own child. Father, you seem suddenly so much older and wearier than you were mere moments ago. Because of you, clearly. Judge is asking for the victim's name, the person who was killed in this case. Look through the information in the court record again, carefully, before you kill me for mercy's sake. I simply can't ignore that disapproving look. Father Frustrator is the achievement for that one. Your Excellency, please allow me to amend my answer. Very well, I will excuse this incorrect response. Victim is Jezile Brett.
Yes!
The name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Jezile Brett. Jezile Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in the courtrooms of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be well aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name indelibly associated with our own empire's judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proving hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Obviously, I still remember. That was the start of everything. Jezile Brett. Behind the woman student persona was the face of Queen Victoria. I have to, I'm sorry. Queen Victoria, obviously. Obviously not. The Queen of England studying overseas? I thought it sounded a little odd. Leave me out of this. I'm sure that you all know all the details of the case in question from 9 months ago. What on earth is that absurd answer you just gave? No more absurdity, please, counsel. You will amend your answer. Did they both have to call my answer absurd? Behind the woman's student persona was the face of a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of medicine at the Imperial Yumei University was killed, and the culprit was Josiah Brett. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of this delicate diplomatic situation that the incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John H. Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba. Yes, I was indebted to the man. He'd been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yumei University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Josiah Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's laws. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon only last week. All that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the English woman was killed. Only the day before? That will do. I am satisfied the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Thank you, Your Excellency, over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Ouchi. As you wish, Your Excellency. A repugnant crime took place on the 11th August in broad daylight. On the outskirts of the imperial capital under a bright blue sky at a secluded bathing spot by the sea. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut erected for bathers to rest or change out of their clothes. Change of their clothes. Not just out of, I imagine back into as well. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung. So obviously, the pen is going to be important. Like, I think that goes without saying. And they're going to completely ignore it for an unnecessarily long portion of the case. An injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in the beach hut at the time of the victim's death. Ms. Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Membami. Accordingly, there can be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she had a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady.
Well, that extraordinary description of events leaves me somewhat lost for words, I must say.
That's certainly true. The prosecution's summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about I'm going to pick some wrong answers, so I'm saving a bit of time. The bathing spot. If I may, Prosecutor Ouchie. What do you want, you fresh-faced young yokel student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. Ah, my apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trend in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, therapeutic, and excellent for the skins. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intents and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry. Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai the following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. And the British Embassy put extreme pressure on our government to comply. But on what grounds would we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have the courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permission, not I. In any case, it was decided that with a dedicated detective on duty, nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I said, don't look at me. It was that young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet. Wouldn't provoke the man if you don't need to. At this stage, I need to gather more information, I think. As a lawyer, I really ought to... Okay. Being alone together. Membami-san? Yes, what is it? Naruhodo-san? I'm really starting to wish we'd made my alias Ryutaro Susato. That would actually work pretty well, to be honest. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place, and why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. But let us be clear, at the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. The truth is, there's only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No. Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have an opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, Counsel. Prosecution counsel seems to enjoy using provocative tricks like that. But for now, at least, we need to assemble more facts. Try not to let him goad you. Oh dear, this is really terrifying. Father's right. I need more information. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick the prosecution on what he said about powerful motive. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blatant overstatement. Is the yokel boy using long words he doesn't fully understand? I beg your pardon? No matter, let us put this to the accused, shall we? Then, Bami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yume University, I believe? Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I can confirm that. The defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting then? It was obviously the victim in the previous case. I was studying under Dr. John H. Wilson.
Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago.
The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson is a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had toward the English woman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. You're not making yourself look good. Hey, be careful of what you're saying. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency.
I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now.
Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Miss Brett had managed to avoid incarceration, instead continuing her research work at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murder of the mentor for whom she had such great respect enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporary until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai, you can hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, if you'd be so kind as to peruse this exhibit. A photographic print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image.
I thought you said she was in her bathing gear. But really? I don't know. Who knows at this point? Maybe she was supposed to be... Was she going to bathe in the nude? Because that would explain the bathrobe. Her clothes are in the suitcase. Also, she had an astonishing number of masks. And okay, we have, hang on, can I see this in the court record yet? Nope. We have a bottle, we have a glass. I'm assuming the possibility of poison at least will be voiced. We have the same purse that she was carrying last time. I remember that for some reason. As you can clearly see, there's nowhere within the hut that anyone else could have hidden. I mean, I suppose if they were very small, they could have hidden in the dress. If they were very strong, they could have, like, propped themselves up around the center leg of the table. And if they were very quick and skinny, they might have been able to push aside the, I believe that's bamboo lining the back wall to make a gap to wriggle out of, although I imagine that would break a bunch and leave a very obvious point. Surprised there isn't more, like, visible footprints. You'd think there would be a ton. Also, and this is a weirdly picky thing, but what scenario would have had her feet all the way over there in this place? If her stuff was over here, and she would have been changing, I guess maybe she had just gotten up from the stool? I don't know, maybe she had changed her shoes while sitting down and gotten up? I don't know, it's just weird. You'd think that she would be standing somewhere closer to the center, which would place her feet somewhere in this region. And when she fell, she would have either fallen toward one of the far sides or, or out the door. Like, she probably would have wound up slumped against a wall, stretched with her head closer to the wall, or, again, flopped out through the front door.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
I guess someone also could have technically hidden, like, up in the rafters of the thing, if there were sturdy enough rafters to support a person. That's a bit of a stretch, though.
The court will accept this photographic print as evidence.
Stab wound in the victim's back is clearly visible.
I understand it then. The victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time.
Okay, so, a bunch of feathers from her hat, which for the record did seem to be a live goose that she had strapped to her head last time. Like, it can flap and stuff. That glass must have been pretty much full when she dropped it. Assuming she did in fact drop it and something else wasn't the explanation. Either way, when this glass fell, it was obviously pretty full, given the size of the splash. Meanwhile, the bottle seems completely empty, which is kind of weird. I mean, I guess maybe that's a cork in it. It's kind of hard to tell. The black and white doesn't help the details of the image. Yeah, maybe that's a cork. Hairbrush, shoes. I'm guessing makeup of some kind. Spare masks. The stick on that thing is pointed the wrong way. Did she break it somehow?
This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant.
Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has much more to its case. We intend to approve the accused's following actions beyond all possible contention. To that end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence. Witnesses? But who? Well, I mean the detective for starters, who will presumably be the same detective who showed up last time. One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective who likes to steal evidence from the crime scene because he's afraid of it being lost or covered up. He has no trust in our legal system for obviously good reasons. Alright, let's show Umbreon. Sorry I didn't see it immediately, Rafkin. Umbreon is a good feature for this. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave no room for doubt.
Very well, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses.
I, Takatsuchi Ouchi, have been waiting for this moment. Sorry. Oh yes, I haven't forgotten that trial 9 months ago here in this very courthouse, when that irreverent little student boy utterly humiliated me. Oh, his hair was shorter back then. Ryunosuke Naruhodo! But yes... This insult to the Ouchi family name will never be forgotten. You've become conceited with age, counsel, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Ah. Yeah, no, that's highly inappropriate courtroom behavior. Strike the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut and the bell of cultural enlightenment tolls. Yes, on that fateful day my former self died. Start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, counsel? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Ouchi growth. You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown. I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see. Where is the hope exactly? I said silence! Today I face another yokel student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer for the seed of hope atop my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. Looks like the stakes are high on both sides in this trial. Prosecution and defense each has much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. Yep, I called... Oh my gosh, he's here again. Wait, he was in England before. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Chief Inspector Saruhodo Sonaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I'm in disguise, obviously, so I can go undetected. And I am, well... I can't remember what voice I gave him before. And I am, well, the next big thing in books. An author renowned throughout the capital. In fact, yes. Soon to be sold out. The satirical I Am a Cat, sensational success by Soseki Natsume. By Soseki Natsume. Oh my goodness. Struggling student from the provinces, please, you needn't be in awe of me. I needn't? It's only natural that you'd feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Sosuke even. Soseki even. Yes, what on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it's begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he does seem to have changed somewhat in the 6 months or so that it's been since I last saw him. And as for Inspector Hosonaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, isn't it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make for a more faithful testimony. It was my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly.
Well, I can appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business did a writer such as yourself have being at the scene, Soseki-san?
Oh, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture on the morning of the incident in the Imperial Yume University's Grand Lecture Hall, no less. At Yume University? Yeah, I really can't remember what voice I did for him last time. After the lecture, I had a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact, with Professor Mikotoba? Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. Wanted some story or other about 2 former students who'd studied in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. As you can see, the conversation was written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. He practically threw that paper at me. A newspaper containing an article about a discussion between my father and Soseki-san. The debate became quite spirited. Did our father murder the lady? Like manslaughter or something, you know, accidental. Anyway, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appeared and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see our country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained it before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory under strict surveillance, of course. At which utterance, the university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance, and the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. That detective I'm at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It's extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. Fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you do have something on your face now. How unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father? Why would you not know this? No, fortunately I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course, it meant that as my assistant, Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. But if only I had, I'd never have seen that awful sight. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. Jeez, that guy has a lot of ink on his hand.
Very well. I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all that you witnessed on your impromptu excursion to the coast.
Of course, Your Excellency. Relentlessly racked by remorse and regret, I am. The witnessed scene. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a cater wall from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes, that girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. Okay, so that's the first fabrication. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times. Okay, again, fabrication.
Indeed, it does appear from this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime.
What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, that was it. Damning evidence.
What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it?
Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene whilst examining the body. It appears that in her dying moments, with her final ounce of strength, the victim clutched a piece of evidence that would positively identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you would cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more.
Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand.
That's right, a fountain pen. And if you would kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency.
Ah, the owner's initials have been engraved into the ebonite barrel.
What the heck is ebonite? I know ebony, but, like, is there a difference? Okay. Ebonite is a brand name for a material generically known as hard rubber or vulcanite. Obtained via vulcanizing natural rubber for prolonged periods, ebonite may contain from 25 to 80% sulfur and linseed oil. Its name comes from its intended use as an artificial substitute for ebony wood. The material has been called vulcanite, although that name formally refers to the mineral vulcanite. Charles Goodyear's brother, Nelson Goodyear, experimented with the chemistry of ebonite composites. In 1851, he used zinc oxide as a filler. Hugh Silver was responsible for giving it its name. Okay, so I guess it was pretty popular in the 19th century. Yep. Including for fountain pens. It was also used in 20th century bowling balls. And It's a trade name for a manufacturer of bowling balls. Electric plugs, tobacco pipe mouthpieces, fishing reels, hockey pucks, fountain pen bodies, nib feeds, saxophone and clarinet mouthpieces. Interesting.
RM. Raymond Bonnie.
Do we have any other RMs? Not yet.
The initials of the defendant. This fountain pen will be admitted immediately as evidence.
Fountain pen has been entered into the court record. So, have I omitted anything? Decisive testimony and damning evidence? There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. It's a weird thing to say. I don't understand. The prosecutor ouchie of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise.
Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now.
Head up, Susato.
Naruhodo-san.
Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me.
There are another Naruhodo in my court.
Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your... There isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryutaro, pull yourself together, please. Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find the inconsistencies in the witnesses' testimonies to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I can do. The witnessed scene. Okay. I always like to drop a save at the start of the testimony. And that jaunty disguise. I like the turtle on his head. I haven't commented on it yet, but I do like it. Wait, no. I mean, it wasn't the first time I've worn this swimsuit for a dip in the ocean. It's tried and tested. Do what must be done to keep the Englishwoman under surveillance. Those were my orders that day. This tried and tested outfit was the answer. Being able to blend flawlessly into a crowd is an important part of a detective's job. I submerged myself in the salty water, leaving only Mr. Turtle floating inconspicuously on the surface. How exactly did you see literally anything? Mr. Turtle loves the water. There was no need for you to blend into the background on this assignment, really, was there? If that made you late arriving on the scene, I think perhaps you had your priorities wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't pursue this line of questioning any further at the moment. For having successfully pressed a witness during the... Hang on. I want to see. During the first cross-examination, both the Grey Ace Attorney Adventures and the Grey Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. I just managed to catch that crab when suddenly I heard a caterwaul from behind me.
Hold it!
You're describing the victim's scream, presumably, Soseki-san? In more literary terms, you might say it was a scream that could have pierced the heavens. But was it a drill that could pierce the heavens? Like, have we entered Gurren Lagann or not? I'm just asking. I wonder if I'll ever go back and watch more than, like, the first 3 episodes of that show. Yeah! Or the like. Of course, that's just a metaphor. We renowned authors are wont to describe things so. Soseki-san wasn't at all like this in England. Anyway, I spun around at the noise and the beach hut immediately fell under my gaze. That's the beach hut. The area is popular with government ministers. Many have seaside retreats there for rest and recuperation. Locals are prohibited from entering the area, so it's always very quiet. Okay, so we're seeing the structure of the hut here. There's also some buildings back there, but that's far enough away that I would be pretty surprised if someone had stabbed her from all the way over there. Got some rocks and trees. But what I'm noticing is the open space at the top here. If there was something similar at the back, then someone could have pretty realistically slipped out the back since they were both looking from the water direction by their descriptions. There we go. Someone could have theoretically climbed over the wall and ducked across, hopped the fence over here while remaining covered by the shack, or even just hidden along the back wall, making it impossible for, well, just hidden along the back wall until the folks on the beach arrived at the thing and then slipped away. Either way, it wouldn't be a very safe strategy, but it would be possible. The beach hut is a simple structure, erected as a place for people to change or take refuge from the sun. Although, the Englishwoman commandeered the hut for herself, which meant that I was forced to change into my swimwear on the sand. Ah, I imagine that was rather embarrassing for you. Well, anyway, I tossed the crab aside and headed for the beach hut at a run. It was the crab, wasn't it? Or in more literary terms, I decrabbed and beetled off hut-wise. Those are not literary terms. Ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question.
Hold it!
Wait, by pair you don't mean to say... How could that be? No, you misunderstand. Obviously, I mean the victim and the defendant, Rei Mumbami-san. What did she think he meant? Oh. Wait. Did she think there were suddenly 2 victims? If you jump to conclusions, you have to expect to fall flat on your face sometimes. Dear me, pinning your hopes on such an outside chance, foolish, very foolish. So, Inspector, why don't you tell the court how exactly you found the aforementioned pair in the hut? Well, it was a sorry sight. A grisly scene. I parted the Norn curtain hanging in the doorway, stepped inside only to see the defendant leaning menacingly over the lifeless body of the victim sprawled on the sand. My glasses very nearly cracked at the ominous sight that met my eyes. How thoroughly appalling!
Well, Soseki-san, can you confirm what Inspector Hosonaga is saying, I wonder? Ah, you'd like a literary man's opinion?
Hold it!
Stabbed wildly? You actually saw her do it? Oh, indeed. Terrible Spectre, Terrapin Inspector, the Bloody Torrent, the Author's Torment. Every sight and sound is still carved in my melancholy memory. That was my impression, at least, as a future literary sensation. Counsel, what on earth was that shrill, effeminate scream? Oh, no. No, what are you insinuating on as manly a Japanese man as you? I wonder if I might interject here, Soseki-san. Something you said is troubling me. That was my impression, were your words just now, I believe. Ah, so do you mean to say you're not confident that you did see what you've described? No, I mean, yes. I mean, I know what I saw. My ears didn't deceive me when I first heard that scream, hence my eyes didn't deceive me either. I could describe everything I saw vividly. I could publish it all in tomorrow's newspaper serial. It sounds as though the next installment of I Am a Cat may take a macabre turn. I think this is a fool's errand. The more we press your author friend on what he saw, the more entrenched he's going to become. Oh dear, how awkward. Saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she'd stabbed the victim multiple times.
Hold it!
I like to press everything first, as I think most people do when they play these games. She was stabbed multiple times. How can you be sure of that? Very simply, from the blood on the blade. The blood? When I entered the hut, I saw the defendant holding the blade raised up in the air. Yes, that's right, I saw it too. Oh. I noted that there was blood on the blade already at that point. In other words, the victim had already been stabbed at least once by the time I arrived on the scene. Yes, that's right, I saw it too. And the victim was already holding the defendant's fountain pen in her hand too. All of which means I can be sure the victim did not die instantly. Yes, right, I saw it too. Maybe a year in London was too much for him. He sounds like he's forgotten how to speak Japanese. The logic of your argument is sound, at least. As I said, it is my guiding principle to carry out all testimonies flawlessly. Perhaps it should have been your guiding principle to protect the victim flawlessly? That's just my personal opinion, of course. Sassy, Susato. Counsel, you will refrain from mocking the witness. Just have so many thoughts whirling around in my head. It's all I can do to stand here wide-eyed and mute. Goodness, my dear, you really must try to calm down. But how am I supposed to find an inconsistency in what these two gentlemen are saying? I don't see why either of them would have any reason to lie. What you must remember, I think, is that witnesses may inadvertently lie at times. For various reasons. A misunderstanding, a mistaken observation, a delusion, even... a delusion. What's important is that we determine the truth. There's only one sure way to do that. With evidence, of course. Spoken like a true judicial assistant. Yeah. I am familiar. basic mechanic in Ace Attorney games. Okay, now we really get down to business. I should also read this. Okay, I can't read this. Hey, it's the kitty. I can't remember the kitty's name. I don't think this guy is involved. So the question is, I feel like I should... Oh, oops. I didn't mean to press space that many times. And I don't want to have to read back through all of that.
Objection!
With that accusatory cry that just welled up from deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, stakes have been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of that menacing pose, Counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Ooh, what? Where? When? How? Not you, Soseki-san. This query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said, when I entered the hut, the defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, please, Counsel. In the post-mortem report, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. I'm gonna let Umbreon go back down now. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. And Soseki-san? Me? You claim to have seen Nambani-san in the throes of stabbing the victim. Yes? Yes, I did. Wildly. But both you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw the defendant holding. Yes, and? It's quite simple. You know that the murder weapon was used to stab the victim only once. Therefore, there's no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing hadn't already occurred. Ah, true. And what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you ever going to tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Soseki-san in fact saw was not the moment that the defendant stabbed the victim at all, but the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be. That's what it's saying. Klimpaloon, the old-timey magical bathing suit that lives in the Himalayas. Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them without objection and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this at that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show. You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution. It was only half a head of hair. Slander, my head is quite adequately dressed. In any case, all this talk of stabbing and withdrawing and multiple wounds makes not a jot of difference. What? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she had withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witnesses saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because the accused had already stabbed the victim. So I think the issue with this is that she didn't die instantly. I think that was explicit here. Death would have occurred within minutes. I still don't know what is implied by extreme meiosis. But I'm assuming it means that the death was not instant. Especially since you wouldn't die instantly from a punctured lung. You would presumably have to wait to either suffocate or, to suffocate from the inability to keep air in your lungs, but that's unlikely. Because you have 2 lungs. You'd still at least sort of be able to breathe theoretically, but you would drown on your own blood, I believe. I think that's essentially what would happen if you were stabbed and it pierced the lung, and you had, as it says here, a fatal hemorrhage. I believe the result would be choking to death on your own fluids. But if she was dead by the time they found her, which I'm guessing will be the next thing that comes up, then it would have had to be significantly after she was actually stabbed that Ray found her and pulled the knife out. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. I mean, we also heard the detective being somewhat inaccurate. I'm in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back where we started. Sorry? Consider this young yokel boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim with a demon's cold-blooded composure, too? Prosecution demands an explanation, and it had better be good. Why did Ray pull out the knife? Ah, yes, going for the jugular. What does Father mean by that? Well, I think this is an update. I don't think it said before that she considers herself indebted to Dr. Wilson. Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. Truth is, I don't really know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was surely so she could... I'm sorry, I have to make a poor decision here real quick. Hide the knife. I think it was possibly so that she could hide the murder.
Objection!
And yet the murder weapon was left there, thrust into the sand at the scene. Wait, it was? It doesn't show up in the picture. The murder weapon is wholly invisible in this picture. In fact, it's not present. I'm gonna lose a mark for that. Having pulled the knife from the victim, she couldn't find a place to hide it, so that was her only option, perhaps? I think, counsel, that you were ill-advised with your answer initially, and you were further ill-advised to pursue it. Stab her again. I have to make all of that decision. I'm not going to make every wrong choice, but I felt like it would be... This case probably has some decent responses for getting things wrong. I'll be right back. I need to turn on my overhead fan. It would have been so she could stab the victim again. Pardon? Isn't there a saying? If someone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to him the left also? Ryutaro, what are you saying? Or rather, what are you doing? Do you realize what hole you're digging? Starting to say things I don't mean. Okay. Now we'll load the thing back. Save her life. According to the post-mortem report, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while after sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Membami-san was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. Instinctively, she pulled the blade out in an attempt to save Miss Brett's life. A foolhardy attempt, by the way. If you're stabbed, you'll leave it in, because it might well be the only thing holding you together at that point. This is not medical advice. I'm not a doctor. No one sue me. Did you hear that, Your Excellency? It would seem this is the best we can expect of this young yokel. Indeed. Is it just me, or does it suddenly feel much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may. Speak, witness. I would like another opportunity to testify. In respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward by the Yokel Defense Council, I mean. Slipshod? An excellent idea, Inspector. Our young yokel hopefully has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not one iota of common sense. Very well, Inspector. I will permit your request. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel's assertion. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. There's going to be a flaw. Forensic medicine primer. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was this defendant's highly respected mentor. Is what you just said true, Inspector? Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. This is why yokels should stay on the farm? Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have such basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pulled it out again knows it. And how many people do you think have done that? Oh, well, I've never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled a blade out of a wound, so... Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is it true what they're telling me? Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. Then again, she was a medical practitioner on the scene. Theoretically, she could have decided that she was prepared to render treatment in that scenario, or that the victim's life may be forfeit if she didn't immediately act to render treatment. But then, why would Ray have done it? Would she have pulled out that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. Seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have... Hey, no, that's not your job. Trust your client. Don't ask why she did it, ask why she had to do it. I've played a lot of the Phoenix Wright games lately, okay? I know what Mia Fey would say here. Susato. Yes? Pull yourself together. You mustn't lose sight of why we're here. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with the established facts, I will be moving my adjudication immediately afterwards. Oh, I really thought she was about to give herself the double slap on the face. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Forensic medicine primer.
Hold it!
You say doing it without thinking could be a problem. Does that mean that if you used due care and attention it would be alright? I wouldn't have thought this needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like stopper in the wound, remove it, serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to be present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Without thinking, the result is a bloodbath. Back to the witness testimony, please. I have a feeling I'm about to imply that my client did not in fact have an innocent sentence. In that case, there's an obvious explanation here. Which is? Clearly, the defendant, Rei Minbami-san, does not... Wow, I thought she was going to imply it, not say it outright. What do you think about that, Professor Mikotoba? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking in common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know, young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it. Careful, counsel. A lack of common sense can be a very dangerous thing. Oh dear, that recoiled on me rather badly. Also, I don't know why it keeps flickering up top, and I apologize for that. I don't know if that's even on your screen or if that's an issue with my monitor. I really hope it's not my monitor, though, because that thing is expensive. The defendant had suddenly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have shocked her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I don't really think inadvertent actions can explain this. The woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would behave so irrationally. The irrational behavior... Susato, no. That is a terrible saying. I have a lot to learn about women. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted views. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take hold a little. You're not that in character, Susato. That should cover the medical side of the argument. This is just conjecture.
Objection!
And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this fledgling to defend her, I would almost say I pity the accused. So do I. Oh, interesting, okay. Ah, yes, Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Minbami-san. Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Minbami-san's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been a very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with opposition, of course, but he believed firmly in Minbami-san's abilities. Clearly, the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Rei knew that withdrawing the knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it. I see two possibilities here. One, we suggest that she felt confident it was a necessary move in order to save life, and that as a medical assistant, Rei felt that she had the needed expertise to perform emergency first aid to save her, or she was already dead. Miss Brett was already dead, and therefore Susato knew that there was no danger to her life in removing the knife. Susato, it's at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. Fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in the courtroom, isn't it? Of course, but I've been through the court record dozens of times already. I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't take the evidence at face value. You can and must examine it. Oh, I just hadn't unlocked this ability yet. I realize this is your first time playing the role of lawyer in a courtroom, so if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my very best to help. Examine it in the court record. I know what to do. Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater detail. So, we'll get our answer after we examine the pen, presumably, since that's the only thing that we haven't examined yet. Okay, so I can pull the cap off. Some sort of emblem here. It isn't a Yume University one. Does it belong to some other organization? A business of some kind? That seemed to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Rei. There's an emblem of some description. The fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is very clearly a message, too. To identify her killer, you mean? I don't think there can be any doubt that this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Can I take the cap off? If I take off the pen's lid... Let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Oh wow, we're really going far. I didn't even think of that. Huh. There's no ink. I think that's what that means anyway. This must be the little reservoir that holds the ink. Fill it by drawing ink from a bottle up through the nib. Something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink in there, that's all. Yes, you're right, it's pretty much empty. Could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Very small reservoir of liquid still inside the ink reservoir. I want to check one other thing. Okay, I can examine this more thoroughly now. Let's look at the back page. Important article on the back page. Deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen? It's this morning's paper that Soseki-san gave us. Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I've not heard any such thing. Where on earth could the reporter have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story in our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on in the strictest confidence. I had put Ray in charge of the project. Ray? She was managing it? So if what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the theft from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. You need to read this article very carefully. Okay, so we've got the poison article separately. Anything in the classifieds? Any help wanted ads? I probably need a new job after this. Dang it, I can't open farther in. I'm guessing that this is all one page and that looking at the coupons won't help. Raucous England returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Soseki-san. Looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. So yeah, there's absolutely nothing useful on the front page. Sorry, I am very used to having to scan things thoroughly in these games. Okay, deadly poison stolen from the research lab. Following a lecture by Soseki Natsume, came to light that a very disturbing incident took place. A deadly poison being secretly developed in the university's forensic science lab was stolen. Why were they developing deadly poison? In the smallest amount entering the body, either via mouth or via a wound from a poison-laced blade, would prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. The university would have to be consulted. Why is the poison being developed? Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, starting with impaired breathing. Here we go. Ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. Such symptoms would be suggestive of this toxin. It's apparently an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids and rumored to have been commissioned by the military. Okay, I guess it was just commissioned by the military. I feel like that's a war crime, but whatever. Generally, I think poison is considered a war crime, but I'm not that legally informed, so I could be wrong. And obviously this was pre-Geneva Conventions. Or convention. I think it might just be the singular Geneva Convention, with obviously multiple stipulations, but... Acute contraction of the pupils is the telling bit, though. Okay. We're gonna drop a save real quick, because we're about to start presenting evidence again. Okay, so this is clearly where we present. The question is what to present, and I would like to present the post-mortem report.
Objection!
No, I'm wrong. Okay, then it's probably the poison article.
Objection!
No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? Ah, the yokel not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is also a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibility do you think you've identified? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about a deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Imperial Yume unit.
Objection!
The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But...
Prosecutor Ouchie, you will let the defense speak.
But a newspaper article, the court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry.
Counsel for the defense. I'm going to need some tangible basis for your claim. You'll indicate to the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentioned affirms your assertion.
Your Excellency. Yes, of course. Thank you. They would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife from the victim's body is explained in the article, where it says, deadly in tiny quantities. Wait, hang on. I'm guessing this is just indicating the page. Why is the poison being developed is the section that we care about. The contracted pupils are the tell. According to the article, the development of the poison was requested by the military.
Yes? A troubling revelation indeed.
Oh, it's very worrying. And yet, even more worrying is how this yokel is trying to manipulate the court with nothing more than rumors. Ah. But I feel sure Ray had a good reason for her actions. I feel sure the explanation is somewhere in this newspaper article. Oh. Okay, so apparently I jumped ahead. It's deadly in tiny quantities. The article reveals the following property about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body on a knife laced with the poison, it's rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Are you suggesting if the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would explain why the defendant, Anbami-san, would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible? Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. Kind of late, to be honest, though. Pulling out a poison knife doesn't feel like it would be that effective at keeping the poison from entering. It's already done that. This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to accelerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the post-mortem report? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's... It's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking place.
Objection!
Oh, please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that the information in this wretched newspaper article is at all reliable in any way. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poisoning and took the potentially lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the argument makes no sense. Exactly. What put Inspector? On what grounds did she do it? Yokel? I did raise suspect that stolen poison was involved. If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly... From your expression, counsel, it would appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are of no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware. I've seen it many times from my place at his side in the Old Bailey. In that case, counsel, he will present the proof to the court now. What evidence demonstrates a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Would be the post-mortem report.
Take that!
I would ask the court to refer to the notes section of the post-mortem report, which reads, extreme meiosis, pupil constriction, was observed in the victim. Ah! Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please, do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of the victim is noted in the post-mortem report means that it's an unusual symptom of death? Well... Under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constriction instead, that's most certainly unusual, yes. What are you doing, you yokel detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset of symptoms occurs in minutes, ending with acute contraction of the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupils of Miss Brett's eyes had constricted severely, yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt. Prosecutor Ouchie? I think you'll agree, this is very compelling evidence. You, yokel student and yokel professor. Everyone in the room can't suddenly be a yokel because it fits your scenario. I believe the defense has expertly demonstrated a credible reason for the defendant's actions. No. Eugen Mikatoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are best placed here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel's argument. You will tell the court the truth about the details reported in this newspaper, please. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key in my laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. You mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft are unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning to the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Ah, listen to the bumbling academic! unaware of the theft of secret state research from his own workplace until he reads of it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. A pitiful situation for a university professor. You should have more control over your students rather than allowing them off on killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. And now our client is going to testify. None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray.
Umbami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated.
But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison we were developing had been stolen that day.
What?
So you knew. I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day that the professor and Soseki-san were interviewed together for the newspaper. It's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. Why didn't you let me know immediately? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential. Some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided to try and get it back before anyone else found out. Because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean... Yes, of course. It was that dainty Englishwoman.
Mr. Zyle Barrett.
That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett. But she just sat on a stool at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as if she knew she was untouchable. Ah. Well, this is starting to add up now. She was stabbed through the back of it. It wasn't that she... It wasn't that someone managed to somehow slip through. She was actually stabbed through the back of the hut while she was sitting there. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what had just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they'd shrunk to tiny pinpoints. I don't believe it.
In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison.
My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Mistress Brett's lips whilst I'd been with her. Which left only one possible way for the poison to have entered her body. On the blade of the knife in her back.
And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade?
Yes, if the amount that had entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might still have a chance. That's what I hoped. Really, I'm sorry for staying silent all this time. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that can be overlooked.
However, I have duly noted the courage with which you confessed in the end.
Thank you, Your Excellency. barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in this courtroom now.
Objection!
Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say? Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very much conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment here. I'm almost sure of it.
You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once, Professor Ouchie.
Perhaps some praise is due, young yokel student. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you've brought this on yourself. What the... Hang on. So the back of it was all torn up. Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air on that beach is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused murderous nature. For it shows the precise moment that Membami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true. No. I don't believe it. But it doesn't make sense. Like, it clearly contradicts the existing facts already.
Order, order, order. Counsel for the defense, was it you who was responsible for that shrill scream that just pierced my courtroom?
Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yokels are slow of mind and slow to mature. I'll show you who's slow to mature. Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here.
It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extremely cogent photographic print as evidence.
I'm double checking the definition of cogent. Appealing forcibly to the mind or reason, convincing. Pertinent, relevant, having the power to compel or constrain. That seems like the most literal definition. It's compelling, essentially. It says it's at the moment the victim was attacked, but again, like, this is a snapshot in that. Like, this is in the middle of things. It could just as easily be the moment the knife was pulled free. Can't believe he's had a photograph like that up his sleeve the entire time. Okay, let's examine it. So, the big issue that I'm seeing here is that this was torn in the back of the thing, which is a direct contradiction of the other picture, and I don't know how exactly that's supposed to work. It's like there is no massive hole in the back of this. There's just a little hole where a dagger could have fit through. In such a stark image, I'm genuinely lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you... I mean, who took that photograph? Where? That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. Oh.
Objection!
No, it's very important. That person should be called on to testify. Whoever took this photographic print was a witness to Miss Brett's death. The courtroom must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. Ah!
I will uphold the defense's demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photograph at once.
And now we'll get the actual killer in the court. But we'll probably have to stop in a minute here because I'm guessing we're about to go into recess, and I would like to call it before midnight. The pacing of these things, I find it takes about 2.5 hours per chunk. So if we keep going, we're going to be here another 2.5 hours. At least with me narrating and giving observations and all that crap. If I was just playing on myself, by myself, I could probably blow through each chunk of the case. Even at a leisurely pace, I could probably blow through in about an hour. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that.
Pardon?
Pardon? You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by express post yesterday, but there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown.
Goodness.
Are we to understand then, Counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photograph has the murkiest of origins, you nevertheless believe it fit for submission as evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced that print before, I noticed that you hesitated for a brief moment. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable evidence, didn't you? Silence, you yokel student and blabbering professor. See, you can call him blabbering. You can't just suddenly prescribe him with yokelism. Also, there are very few pixels on those sweat droplets. And they teleport when they go under his glasses. What matters is the blatant truth that this print so eloquently expresses. The defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly, this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn? Don't waste the court's time with your ramblings.
Indeed, without the knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claim. And the scene it captures was without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear.
Actually, there is proof in the picture that this is being pulled out. If we pay close attention right here, we'll see that the blood is higher on the blade than the blade is into her back. If it was being plunged in, all of the part outside of her body would be clear. Oh no. Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. You'll have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day that you came up against Takatsuchi Ouchi in the court of law. If I can't determine who took this photograph, then the trial is going to come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it.
Well, counsel?
Your Excellency, burning question is who took that photograph, and the truth is... Ooh, this is tricky, because this isn't the route that I would take. I think I have to say I don't know because we don't know the person's name. But it could easily be that paparazzi who's following the author around, who's following Soseki. I can't give that answer. If I give up now, I'll never be able to look Ray in the eye again. This isn't about whether I can or can't come up with the answer now. I simply have to. Hang on. I just want to see what happens if I go the other route. I'll reload again, because I like that route, but... Okay, it just skips some of the dialogue. I still like rolling with my preferred choice. I was going to phrase this differently. I was going to go a dramatic Phoenix Wright approach, but... The identity of the person who took this dramatic photographic print is, I assure you, something the defense can and will reveal. What? No, you can't possibly. But you, as you so boldly claim that you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Do you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about this photographer's identity. So it's either that I present the Soseki article, or I present Soseki himself. I'm guessing it's the article. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. Which piece of evidence do you claim reveals something about the identity of the mystery photographer? Okay, we will save before this, though. Because I don't like spending my lives. Oh, or it's just the fountain pen. I guess that works too.
Take that!
Okay, I was wrong. I was right the first time around. I should have gone with my initial thought.
Take that!
What is that? Newspaper again? Raucous England returnees tell all. It's not the headline that's relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photograph. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Oh. I didn't even notice that. But it is clear that that means there's a crack in the lens of the camera taking it, and it matches up. Huh. That's actually a nice detail. I was just going to go with conjecture. Ah, yes, indeed. They had already caught my eye as it happens. Ah, what of it? A shadow of some kind, presumably from the branches of a tree or the lake? No, those would be black lines. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I can assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photograph... Good gracious! Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is present on this photograph, too.
Objection!
Well, that tells us nothing. Huh? Yes, it's a shadow of some kind, definitely from the branches of a tree. Tree? There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, Council. What's quite remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such an extraordinary similarity have transpired? A cracked lens. Curious matching pattern that appears on both photographic prints is the result of the photographer's technique, a camera defect, some tree branches. I'll skip the part about the photographer's technique. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take the photographs. With the photographic device? Yes, we can confidently say that the camera's lens must be scratched, and that the scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be utterly impossible to identify the owner of this particular one.
Objection!
I think you're forgetting, Prosecutor Ouchie, that one of the photographs featured in the news that one of the photographs featured in a newspaper article. A newspaper? Ah! That's right. The author of that article is the mystery witness to this crime. What? What? I thought the reporter guy standing behind Soseki was going to be relevant. I see why you were called a Rockless England returnee. What are you yelling about? You've already testified. It's mini-memo. Mini-memo, I tell you. Mini-memo. Mini-memo. Soseki-san, what was that? Did you say mini-memo? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from the Shoyu News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Raiten Many-Memo. Raiten Many-Memo. Yes, hounding me from dawn till dusk. Now that he mentions it... Secret spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my They secretly spy, snapshots, scribble stories, and scupper my privacy. Oh. Okay, well, this is starting to add up. Look at his sleeve when it's visible. And compare. Also, RM, Raiten Many-Memo. The symbol of the newspaper company, and he's got the ink stain on his hand. It shows the missing, well, it shows some amount of ink. In fact, she may have even tried to convince him to swipe the poison, which is why it was in his pen. that same reporter be a camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with write and many memo.
So you're saying that this picture was taken by
many memo, yes. My lord, your excellency, Esquire.
Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will adjourn for a short recess in the meantime.
Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency.
And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. We will solicit the assistance of the Imperial University's medical department for the task. Understood?
Many memo! I wish this game, like, redesigned my cursor, though, so it wouldn't look so out of place on screen. Okay, we save our progress. And so we're 2 days after the events. But I think that's gonna be it. I do like these games, though. The cases are fun. I feel like they took the case design more seriously in this game than they did in the others. Like, I actually recently purchased, whatchamacallit, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, which is the follow-up trilogy after the Phoenix Wright trilogy. I'm not sure if I'll play that on stream or just play it on my own time. I'll probably play it on stream, but who knows. But as I understand, at one point in one of those cases, an orca testifies. It just feels like they tried a bit harder to make the twists actually surprising and the secrets a little bit harder to spot. Like, I didn't even put together the detail about that, about those lines. I thought they were just crinkling on the newspaper and I didn't notice them in the second picture. It shows how well I'm paying attention. But anyway, that was good. I don't know when the next stream is, probably Friday. I suppose if anything falls through one of the evenings before then I might be able to pull off streaming again. Ooh. Ooh. But we will see. Is there anyone to raid? Probably not. Doesn't look like it. Nope. No one that I know anyway. So yeah, I think we'll call it there. I'm looking forward to seeing how this one wraps up and whether it will be him as the murderer or someone else that they've yet to reveal. We'll see. In the meantime, I appreciate y'all, and I hope you enjoyed. Yeah, barring all else, we will try and plan on a Friday stream. I hope to see you next time. Later, folks. Bye, 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 bye. So long, farewell. Have a good one. Objection.